Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome back to the Fumble Live. We are getting into some kind of silly statements that Brett Favre made about Deshaun Watson. We're also talking about how some athletes are feeling about the upcoming NBA All-Star Game. But before we do all that, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devyn Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @Devyn Howard.
Hey everybody, I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on all social media at JRay the Fanatic.
What's up, y'all? Happy Thursday. It's your girl, Britt. You guys can follow me on all social media at I am Britt Johnson. We are one day away from FAVRE Fridays. I'm super excited to chat with you guys tomorrow about that, but make sure you guys come with some questions in our comments today. We will be screenshotting questions that we will be able to answer on FAVRE Fridays tomorrow. So make sure you guys ask us some awesome questions. Maybe you might win the Fumble Fan Favorite of the Week tomorrow as well. So make sure you guys get in that chat, ask us whatever you guys want to ask us, and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yes, Yay! Yes. So excited for another edition of FAVRE Friday. That happens at the end of our show tomorrow, so you have to tune in for the entire time. Make sure you do that. As usual, we're starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and wrapping up around noon, so just block out that hour of your day. All right, you guys, let's jump into this first need-to-know news story. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about this. So you think that Brett Favre would be sympathetic to Deshaun Watson's situation? Obviously, Deshaun wants out of the Texans. Back in 2008, the Packers committed to Aaron Rodgers, so Brett got the team to trade him to the Jets, but he apparently feels no ounce of compassion or understanding towards Deshaun Watson at all. So he spoke with Yahoo, and I have a clip for you. So Leo, when you get a second, can you throw that up there for us?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's a different day and time. You know, it's not that long ago in some respects, but in others, it's light years ago when I entered the league. And it was almost unheard of for a player to demand basically anything. John Elway did it when he said he would not go play with, I think it was Baltimore or the Indianapolis Colts at the time. Said he would go play Major League Baseball until, you know, something happened and he ended up going to Denver. But other than that, I really don't remember maybe Phillip Rivers and Eli's situation where one said he wouldn't play here and one ended up there and the other one ended up, I guess, where he wanted to. I'm kind of old school. I think, you know, you play, you get paid a ton of money to do a certain job and just do it and let the chips fall where they may. I think we make too much money to voice an opinion, but I'm not saying he's wrong. Again, I think it's a different day and time, and it'll be interesting to see how the organization handles it.
So just to reiterate what he says, I'm kind of old school. I think you get paid a ton of money to do a certain job and you just do it and you let the chips fall where they may. I think we make too much money to voice an opinion, but I'm not saying he's wrong. Again, I think it's a different day and time and it'll be interesting to see how the organization handles it. So that's just in case you missed it. I wanted to reiterate, I think the biggest difference between when he was in that situation versus now is the fact that now athletes have much bigger platforms in order to like speak or have the things that they've said behind the scenes, you know, disseminated around. But Brett has been in Deshaun's situation before. He was under contract with a team that he didn't want to play with, and he didn't let the chips fall where they may. So why should Deshaun? Britt, do you think it's hypocritical for Brett to criticize Deshaun for not letting the chips fall where they may?
Absolutely. I mean, Kevin Pryor in the chat said exactly what I was just going to say. He literally held them hostage for 3 seasons, like with this whole retirement thing and did not give at all. So Brett saying he doesn't remember anything besides the Phillip Rivers and Eli situation and the John Elway situation. Like, no, remember yourself, my guy, because you did the same exact thing. Like, and you... On top of that, we're not kind to Aaron Rodgers at all. We all remember that. We all remember that you were not trying to help him out, give him any advice. You did not want anything to do with the Packers having success after you left the team. Like, we all remember that. Like, that was not that long ago either. So I think it's funny that he even has something to say on this. Obviously, whatever. I guess NFL players, we talk about them forgetting stuff a lot after they're done playing. let us remind you. Let us remind you, Brett, because that's exactly what happened at the end of your career. We did not forget it. We want you to remember it and continue on with the day. I thought that was kind of crazy that he even said that, because literally I was watching that yesterday, and I was like, am I confused? Did I miss something? Because I thought Brett did the same thing, and then I had to go double check my life, because I was like, because he sounded real confident about what he said, and real like he ain't never heard that happen before in his whole entire football career and post career. So I thought it was funny because he literally made me feel like I was an idiot and I didn't know what was going on, because he said that very confidently and very like, shame on you, Deshaun Watson, for even attempting to ask for a trade.
Right? And also to use the phrase, let the chips fall where they may, which is absolutely not what happened in his situation either. So I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous to me. Jackie, what is your response to Brett saying athletes make too much money to have an opinion or to voice an opinion?
I think that's funny, because he's voicing his opinion all the time now, and he's always off. Like, he's never really kind of spot on in what he says anymore. It's just interesting to me. To me, and I like Brett Favre. Brett Favre is one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. But he is weird in his old age, you know. And this to me is like the definition of, this is like willful ignorance to the fullest. You know, this is like, hey, in my head, I did let the chips fall where they may because I didn't like force a trade. I just retired. I'm like, but you forced the trade because you're tired, you know? But in his head, he was like, no, I just ended it. And then I decided to come back, and that's what happened. I can tell you, if anybody has sat down with him and talked to him about it, that's what he would say. He would say, no, I didn't force them to trade me. I retired. I'm telling you, I would bet my last dollar that that's what he would say, because in his mind, he was like, I just did things the right way. I retired, and then I came back, and then I ended up with the Jets, and that sucked. And so he's going to just make it all about, you know, how he did it. Deshaun's not going to retire, nor should he. But at the same time, I am a fan of not, if you are unhappy where you are, I am a fan of trying to get out of that situation. And I like how Deshaun is handling it. He's not all in the media. He's not on social media bad-mouthing the Texans or anything like that. In fact, his agent is coming out when there's false narratives put out, and he's like, nope, Deshaun didn't say that. But other than that, they're remaining quiet. And technically, they are letting the chips fall where they may. If the Texans don't want to trade him, he's like, cool, I'll sit out. He's going to play this out. And so I like the way he's handling it. Brett, I just have to give you a big old cyber hug, because sometimes I think this is him just talking to be talking. Sometimes I don't even think he listens to himself talk. He just be talking.
Oh, you feel bad for him. Your reaction is to give him a hug.
Something and some chamomile tea and a flashback, because I just don't understand what's going on in his head right now. It's just, bless his heart. Bless his heart.
No, Brett is literally from Friday when the girlfriend's like, you know, I be forgetting, baby. You got to be reminding me.
Right. And then checking. That's a perfect analogy, because Brett is literally he's the girl checking somebody while she got another man in the bed. Like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah. I think it's funny. I think it's an especially interesting take coming from him. I feel like athletes should have a say in what happens in their future, regardless of how much money they make. And Jackie, you're totally right. Deshaun has been very cordial with the Texans throughout this whole process. That, you know, it hasn't been dramatic. There hasn't been any nasty, you know, interviews or anything like that. So I think he's handling it really well, and he absolutely should be able to, you know, make a demand to go somewhere else. Now let's get into the next update, you guys. Let's talk about the NBA All-Star Game. So earlier this week, we discussed how the game is, or I guess the one-night event is set to happen on March 7th in Atlanta. And of course, there are a bunch of people who are skeptical about the whole situation. Is it a good idea to bring all these athletes together in the middle of a pandemic? Are the rules that the NBA is putting on the athletes, are they dumb? Are they ridiculous? But now De'Aaron Fox he spoke out about it, and he was brutally honest. So Leo, can you play that clip for us?
To be brutally honest, I think it's stupid. You know, if we have to wear masks and do all of this for a regular game, then what's the point of bringing the All-Star game back? But obviously, money makes the world go round, so it is what it is. But I'm not really worried about it. If I'm voted, so be it. If I'm not, I don't.
Would you play in it?
You get fined if you're supposed to be in it and you're not hurt and you decide not to play. That's a hefty fine. So hell yeah, I would play in it.
Jackie, I couldn't hear that. What did you say?
I love the just blatant honesty. Like, I'm just here so I won't get fined. If I'm in it, I'm in it. But you ain't taking my money. But I'm going to tell you this is dumb as hell before I go. But you're not taking none of my money. Playing this game. I love that.
Oh, I know. It shows that sometimes, because of these fines, these athletes are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He might think it's stupid. He doesn't want to participate, but he doesn't want to pay that hefty fine. It's interesting to hear this take from him, for him to say that it's stupid, because I'm sure that there are other athletes who share that same sentiment, but at the same time, voting is actually up 70% compared to last year. So the fans are certainly excited about the prospect of the All-Star game. So I don't know, there seems to be this push and pull here. Jackie, do you think that there are a lot of players who feel the same way?
Yeah, well, let me backtrack to that voting being up, because unless I'm wrong, isn't this the first year where you can vote just via a hashtag? Isn't this the first year you could do that? Not?
They did that last year.
Oh, I didn't vote last year via hashtag. I logged on and voted the old-fashioned way. So this is the first year I actually voted via hashtag. So maybe it's just because we're all sitting around the computer and we know now. But I could see it being up this year because everyone's sitting at home. Even I read an article the other day that said Instagram views are up 60%. Facebook had a 35% jump. I don't even know nobody who uses Facebook anymore. So I think it's just the time that we're in versus, this is really the fans being gung-ho about this. But I think the players are at the point now where they're going to be just like he said, it is what it is. I'm not going to argue something that I have no say in. If they want me to play, I'm not going to get this fine. I'm going to go play. I think the NBA is dropping the ball on this one because, like he said, we've had a whole bunch of videos where we've seen the coronavirus police come out on the court, let people trade jerseys. But then it's a full contact sport, basically, even though it's not supposed to be. And then I have to sit on the sideline with a mask. It doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. So, I think that they're at the point now. I don't think anybody will bow out of it because of the fine. But I don't think any NBA player would even speak out as frank as Fox did because they're kind of they're going to do what they do. So it is what, I don't think anyone has enough energy at this point. They realize that none of this makes sense. So they're just not going to say anything.
Right. And Britt, I'd like to hear your take on all of this. And also, do you have any ideas for a solution or, a way that this can make sense for the athletes? Make more sense for the athletes, I should say.
So to what De'Aaron Fox had to say, love the kid. Think he's consistently, gotten better every single year since he got drafted, but I really don't think he's going to get picked to be an all-star personally. So I think it is funny that of course you have an opinion about it because you probably aren't going to be an all-star, So, and which is why I feel like he was like, oh, well, yeah, I'll play if whatever. The fine isn't that big to where it would affect any actual all-star players because usually guys that make the all-stars make a crap ton of money. We're talking about all these guys that are literally making $75 million to $200 and something million contracts. They don't care about paying a fine. And we all know all the fine money that the NBA does throughout the year, it all goes to charity anyway. So I don't think players would be necessarily I don't want to not play and get this fine and have that money get donated to charity. I don't think they really care about that part of it. And I think De'Aaron does want to play, and he probably knows he's not going to get selected. So that's easy to say because you ain't going to play. You're not going to be an all-star. Granted, I do like him. I think he's getting better every year. Do I think this is his year that he's going to become an all-star? No, that's my personal opinion, though. As far as solutions, I already said before, I don't want to see the all-star game. I don't think it's necessary. Obviously, you have the players that are supposed to be selected for the all-star. I don't think that they necessarily, because not only do you get have to pay a fine if you don't play, but if you are selected, you get money because you were selected as an all-star. So take all the money of all the players that were selected that they would have made, donate that. Nobody gets a fine. You don't have a game. And then we still do the skills challenge stuff, because usually we see players like his teammate last year, Buddy Hield, who, have, the 3-point contest and the skills challenges, stuff that like normal, the actual all-stars don't usually participate in. We'll have the 3-point challenge that you'll see Steph do occasionally or whatever, but Buddy Hield won it last year, So we have those guys we can do as Jackie said, have them do it in their gyms, at their team gyms or whatever that they have wherever they are, and call it a day. And that can be something that's televised, the all-star game, do like this whatever donation thing to whatever, and call that a day and be done with it. Still have your selection picks, whatever, but all the money that players would have made playing in the game, just don't give it to them.
And Jackie, shoot, I forgot I was going to ask. I lost my train of thought there. I had another question for you and I completely forgot. Is there anything that you want to add before we move on to the post-up?
No, I do think the players thoroughly enjoy, as much as the fans enjoy the All-Star game, I think the players thoroughly enjoy it. Like I said yesterday, it's fun for them. That's when they build relationships. That's when they kind of can get away with tampering, because they can be in each other's ears and things like that. I think they thoroughly enjoy the game. So I just don't see a lot of them opting out of it. And Yaron might be on to something by saying this, people, because I love this comment. I know it's probably going to see a lot of people, and maybe he will get voted in because people are like, I like this guy. He's honest. Let me hashtag him, or just become a Taylor Swift fan and have her do a video for you. But either way, I think it's a possibility at this point that anybody gets in. But I think the athletes in general will be like, man, this is going to be fun. I get to see my homie that I might not see all the time. I think they do enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Patrick in the chat was saying that, we can still vote for all-stars, but no game. Stupid. It's not stupid, because this also goes on their record for he's a 5-time all-star and whatever. The players still want that accolade regardless of anything else. And the NFL just did the same thing with the Pro Bowl, and it actually went off pretty well. People enjoyed what the NFL did with their Madden games and stuff like that. So because we do have COVID, yeah, we should still vote for all-stars. They're still playing a season. They still should get that accolade if they make the all-star team or whatever. So you still should vote for them, yes. But if we're not having a game because of a pandemic, this is just a one-off season. But those players should still get that opportunity to say, I'm an all-star this year, even more than other years, because I was able to achieve this during a pandemic. That's like saying, we shouldn't have an NBA championship game because nobody can attend the games. No, we still had it. We still did what we had to do during that time. Yeah, it's different. It's a weird situation, but we're in a pandemic, Patrick. So don't know what to tell you. But those players definitely still deserve to be called all-stars if they are an all-star and having an all-star season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And send it in to see if you got his mimic right. To see if you're remotely close to how you mimic. I need you to do a voice recording and send that in.
Hey, you got Shaq down. I'm trying to get Patrick down. Patrick, did I get your voice correctly?
I'm sure it was perfect. I'm sure it was spot on. All right, you guys, that wraps up Need to Know News. Jackie, can you take us into the post-up?
Yes, let's get into the post-up. I don't think there's anyone I can mimic in this post-up, so we're just going to get right on into it. This first one is kind of funny to me because I like Jared Dudley, y'all. I do. I really do. I don't think he's significant in any way, but, I like him. He just played 6 games this season. I think he's averaging half a point. Last year, he was averaging 1.5 points. So I don't know if I will be buying his book that came out on Tuesday because it's just not something that I think I would want to read, but shouts out to him for writing the book. And he has a comment in the book that is kind of got some people feeling some type of way. He's basically saying, we hear some of those guys talking about how they are the team to beat in LA. It's fine if Kawhi says stuff like that. He's he's a defending champion. We don't trip if someone like Patrick Beverley talking trash. That's how he feeds his family. We get it. We respect the hustle. But we think it is disrespectful for Paul George, who hasn't won, to put himself on the level of Bron and AD. this motivates us. I mean, I kind of agree, but not really. I don't think that anybody is motivated on the Lakers by Paul George. Maybe Jared Dudley is, but I don't think anybody's going home thinking like, you know what, Paul George is saying something crazy about. Nobody. I just don't think he's that significant to anyone's mind and on the Lakers. But Twitter is kind of all over the place with it. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions. This user said he's not on AD or Bronze level for sure, but y'all talking too much smack about PG like he ain't that guy. Okay, I'm not mad at that either. But again, I just don't think anybody out here worried about Paul George like that. But another user had something to say. He says Dudley needs to cut AD out that sentence. AD went to the playoffs 2 times in 7 years before he got to LA. Up until last year, PG had a better career. Well, up until means no longer, but you know, however you want to phrase that. And then another user said, I don't know about all that. AD had way better numbers and played in the Western Conference. And he was the best player on his team the entire time. Paul George was number 2 in OKC. I don't know if any of this is relevant to anybody on the Lakers. I would bet my last dollar that it is a no. And I appreciate you writing this little book, Jared Dudley, but I just don't know if anybody's thinking about Paul George like that. But Britt is. So Britt, you heard the comments. You heard what Jared had to say. What's your feelings on this?
First of all, this is a little short 42-page little book that, I mean, who really is going to buy this book? Like, who is thinking to buy a book about the NBA bubble written by Jared Dudley, who averaged 1.5 points last season and like 0.6 assists. This season is averaging 0.5 points, and that, like, you don't matter. Like, don't talk about Paul George. Paul George has been over here minding his own darn business, worried about his own team. Like, LeBron, AD hasn't said anything about Paul George. Why are you speaking about it? Why are you now saying, oh, all the Lakers were so, like, whatever, because we're worried about, like, Paul George and yada, yada. We were trying to shut him. Paul George wasn't even talking last year. He didn't even say it. He was literally depressed and crying in the car every single day in the bubble. He wasn't saying anything. So for you to even include him, and your book's only 42 pages. So I feel like there should have been a lot of other stuff that you could have included in those 42 pages than Paul George. Like, Paul George is not worried about you. He ain't worried about you this season. He wasn't worried about you in the bubble. I don't think anybody's worried about Jared Dudley. Like, I forget about him every single day. Like, I really do. And I think it's just so weird that he even included it, because the whole book is about, being like winning a championship under quarantine is like the little thing of the book or whatever. And I'm just like, so why are you including the Clippers, who you didn't even see in the playoffs at all? Like, why are they even included in your book? You guys played some great series with other teams. Talk about that. I don't get it.
I don't know. Like, again, I like Jared Dudley, but he's not somebody I think about. I like him as a person, not as a player, because he doesn't even really play. So, and I just don't think, I don't think anybody is worried about Paul George. Jay in the chat is saying that Paul George is a GOAT. I don't know what kind of GOAT you're talking about, because not a real GOAT. But, you know, people think what they want to think. But it's 42 pages. Maybe it'll be one of those inserts on the planes. I know Southwest sometimes give out those little magazines. Maybe it'll be fun plane reading or something like that. But I'm not going to buy it. If somebody's going to give it to me for free on Southwest, then I'll read it. But that's it. Yeah, you know, the front cover. Read it. Even though, right?
Where the pictures at?
Right. It's gotta be on an Audible or something. Make me go to sleep on the plane. I don't know, but. Good try, Jared. I appreciate your attempt to be relevant, you know, and good try. Good try. Maybe try to average 42 points over the next 3 seasons, you know, because if you're going to make it that long. But let's get to this next one, because this next one is hilarious to me, because the Bucks were beating the Pacers by 17 at the half. This game was never close. There was never any lead swaps. It was just all Bucks the whole time. It probably would have been a way worse smackdown if Giannis hadn't gotten bored, but he got so bored that he decided to take up a new hobby on the sideline. I don't know if y'all see that, but Giannis is over there taking the photographer's camera, and he's trying to take pictures himself. And then he's like, "Oh, look, how's that look? How's Now, I haven't seen. I'll look through because I was like, I want to see if the photographer actually posted and was like, "This is a picture that Giannis took." I didn't see it. I know, Devyn, did you see it? Because I know you talked about this earlier. Are the pictures that Giannis posted somewhere out there? Because I want to see. If all of a sudden he's got an eye, then we know he's probably not going to be a commentator. He's going to be a photographer after his career is over. But did you see the pictures?
I didn't. I actually didn't, but I should have checked that. I didn't think to check that, but I thought that was so funny too. Giannis just so relaxed that he's like, you know what? Let me try my hand at photography. I thought it was really, really funny. And I do want to see the photos, so I'll look for them after the show.
Yes. And Jared Dudley, this is the kind of thing that would piss me off. Not just Paul George being around, but you beating me so bad that you're going to go take up a new hobby that would piss me off. Now that you could write about, because I'm big mad after that, but that's just me. This next one would piss me off too, because this game, we talk about flopping a lot, but I feel like if you're going to flop, it needs to be a flop that somebody would believe. You can't just be falling for no reason. It would have been worse for me if the Hawks had won this game, but they didn't. The Mavericks got the win 122-116. But he got the call. Take a look at this and understand that the ref gave him this call. Take a look.
Great double team by Brunson and Richardson.
Nobody touched him. And the ref gave him the call. First of all, he traveled. That's first and foremost. He traveled. And then in his acting, he just like, oh, God, help, help, help. Ref's like, okay, foul. This is terrible to me. Twitter thought so, too. There were some users in there that was like, oh, no, this shouldn't have happened this way. We got 2 tweets from some users. I'm going to come to Britt after. But, yep, see, he said what I said. Travel and the flop, both uncalled. That's what's wrong with the NBA right now. I agree. That's why I know the players can't talk about the refs, but they should be able to because this is ridiculous. And then this user said, I blame the refs and the NBA more. They don't call travels at all. True. And meanwhile, they're calling stuff like this. And the NBA allows them to be consistently incompetent talking about the refs. I agree. That was ridiculous. Britt, how do you justify a ref saying, yep, no, that's a foul? You saw that man wasn't touched.
Right. Yeah. And it's crazy because it's like you guys can replay it and look at it again, and then you still come up with that same call. Like, it's just so weird. Like, are we back in the NBA lockout of replacement refs? Like, did we go back to that time? Because that was a very rough time. I don't want to go there again. I don't want to go there again.
Right.
That was
and
terrible.
I feel it's hard to be like, oh, the refs don't have favorites when you know that man saw that TRAE was not touched, and he's like, you almost hit my boy, foul. That's what I would do if it was LeBron, but then you guys would know, be like, don't let Jackie call this game. Right. You would have a justifiable reason for talking smack about me. We need to be able to talk smack about these refs, and this is ridiculous. So this next clip, I think, Britt, you'll be happy to know Jimmy Butler was out there playing some defense, but it didn't amount to much because the Heat did lose that game. They're on a 2-game losing streak. But on the upside, the Wizards can say they do not have the worst record in the league because they did win this game. And now the worst record in the league belongs to the Pistons because they're 5-16. So I think this is why we have a little song and dance for you here between Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal. Take a look.
5 out there. Here's Beal. Butler able to take it away, and Beal commits the foul. That'll be the second foul against Beal, and those two are doing a little dance together.
Brad didn't want to let it go.
That's my ball, punk.
Look at Brad.
Oh, my goodness. On the replay, you see them like Bradley Beal. The camera's kind of zoomed in on Bradley Beal, and Bradley's like, let go of the ball. And I can't see what Jimmy's saying because the camera, but he's like, let go of the ball, let go of the ball. And Jimmy's like, nah, it's my ball, punk. I love that. That is a great moment in time.
Fun.
I know, like, you let go. You let go. I love this kind of song and dance between these people. It's great. It's great. What I don't love is this next one because I don't care. I don't care. I know Devyn might. I know a lot of you might. I am not one of these people. But Kendall Jenner, if you didn't know, she dates Devin Booker. And she's like, oh, I'm going to make sure you guys know that while I'm pumping gas. Because she's out here flossing in her son's little hoodie or whatever, wrapped around her waist. with no real shape. But then here she is again. Okay, we get it, and now I'm ready to move on. That's just all the time I feel that was warranted for that situation. So let's move on. This next one is more interesting because this one could have actually been really bad for the Chiefs, but it turns into a hilarious moment instead. And I love when players can poke fun at themselves. So Daniel Kilgore, he is a backup linebacker for the Chiefs. Now, he was getting his hair cut, and he was apparently mid-cut when people came in and said, hey, that rapid PCR test, this barber got COVID. So he posted this picture because, this is what my head looked like when they came in and said, you got to stop cutting. They did make the barber stop cutting, but the haircut was finished later. Thankfully, both the barber and Kilgore were wearing masks, and he has tested negative, I think, 2 times now. And so if he continues to do so, then he can go to Tampa Bay. But what's crazy is this could have been really bad for the Chiefs because Patrick Mahomes and a whole bunch of other Chiefs were scheduled to get the haircut right after Kilgore. And so I love that he poked fun at the whole situation, and hopefully this all passes for him and he can make it to Tampa Bay. So this
Jackie,
next one is also, yes.
I have a question. Do you think that they tried to take a piece of the Utah Jazz handbook, like the Michael Jordan sent him a pizza with the food and sent him this barber? Because the barber tested, so creepy, barber tested negative 5 days straight, and then went and took a rapid test the day of. And then, first of all, I don't know why they didn't wait for the test results to come back before they started the first cut. But they were cutting his hair, and then it came oh, he's positive, get him out of here. And then all those 20 players that this is something Tom Brady. This is Tom Brady, y'all. I'm just saying, this is exactly Tom Brady is here. He's coming for them.
Could have been Robert Kraft.
Open. Huh?
It could have been Kraft. Robert Kraft yesterday was going on and on and on about how he loves Tom Brady, and that's why I know y'all saw that he's putting medical workers on the Patriots plane and flying them out there. He's like, because I want them to see Tom play. So maybe he's like, oh, I just love Tom so much, I'm gonna give him some advantage. It's not like I'm opposed to cheating. Let me get somebody in there with COVID. Maybe it was Robert. I don't know.
Maybe.
I can see him
right there though. Something ain't right.
Yeah. Good point. Or maybe Tom was like, Robert, I need a favor. He's like, say less, fam. Right. I got you. So, yeah, it could have been like that. So, good point, Britt. Good point. Now, let's get to this next one because this next one is we're just going to have a conversation about this. We just have to because I feel like the boxing world is becoming the antithesis of Honda because Honda's out here doing random acts of kindness and the boxing world is doing random acts of nonsense. I don't understand this, but if you've heard the rumors, let me just tell you right now, they are true. Lamar Odom has signed on to fight Aaron Carter. Now, if you don't know who Aaron Carter is, he used to be a pop star who's gone awry. I've seen some reality shows with him in it, and they are tragic. But aside from the fact that this is ridiculous, let's look at all the other differences. Lamar is 41. Aaron is 33. Lamar is 6'10". Aaron is 6'1". This doesn't even sound logical to me. Aaron says, no, I'm cool because I don't care about his size. I have some boxing experience. Whatever. I don't know. This is set to happen on June 12th. I don't know. I love how this user pointed out that Aaron's kind of a crybaby. He said, Aaron Carter came into the Best Buy I work at and complained about the BBY airport kiosk that didn't dispense an iPod and screamed at customer service. I don't see somebody who got hands being mad and going into Best Buy to complain about something that happened at an airport. I just don't see somebody who's not a big crybaby doing something like that. But Devyn, let me go to you. Do you think that us continuing to see these kind of ridiculous celebrity matches kind of takes away from the validity of boxing? Is it like a disgrace to the sport?
Honestly, I do think it is, just because boxers train their whole lives to get where they are, and suddenly we have people like Jake Paul. I mean, yes, Jake and Logan Paul have trained, but they're YouTubers first. And then we have Aaron Carter, who, is going to be boxing a basketball player, or a former basketball player. It's just kind of weird to me. It just does seem to take away from the sport in general. Another thing that I wanted to point out, though, which I thought was really funny, is that Aaron Carter, the same guy that's saying, I want candy, says he grew up street fighting. He grew up street fighting. He was like 11 when that song came out. I'm just confused. He grew up street fighting.
That's crazy. You know, another thing I thought about when I saw this is Aaron has a well-documented drug problem that he's gone. His mentals have not been right. We know what LAMAR Odom went through with almost dying and having to retrain how to live, basically. I don't think either one of them needs to be hit in the head. That's just my thinking. I think maybe just lead a healthy lifestyle and go about your way. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But, I mean, maybe they both need the money. I could definitely see that for Aaron and maybe LAMAR, but maybe. But this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But I'm going to tell you, like TRAE Young was out there flopping. I'm thinking TRAE's like, let me go ahead and test these waters. But if he can't continue to get those calls of blatant flopping, I think this is his next step. I think this is going to make him unguardable. Take a look.
This basketball move will make you unguardable on God.
I definitely think that is next. I think that is coming. You guys, I need you to know in the chat, because I know a lot of you are really young. So I feel like I have to put this disclaimer on there. Like, this is supposed to be funny. Don't go out there and do this in real life. And the reason why I feel like I have to say this, because first of all, these are kids in this video. So I'll be like, ooh, this will be fun. And number two, there was a user that responded to this little said slapping. And he said, ooh, I did this in a tournament and I got suspended from said tournament. So don't be like this kid. It's just it's funny, guys. That's it. That's all. All right. So that's all I got for the post up. I'm telling y'all, TRAE Young's going to do that one day, though. I could just see. But let's move on to what we not going to do, because this one, I'm actually very, very proud of this individual, because this will be a great example of how it started versus how it's going, because it all started with this post from NCAA March Madness account. And it just reads, it's talking about the upcoming March Madness, and it has Baylor's men's head coach it first has it says guys breaking up with longtime girlfriends to keep the bubble in play. So that's from Scott Drew. I thought that was cool. If you on the actual March Madness Instagram, it has that, and then if you swipe, there's a video, and it has Mike Few he's the Gonzaga head coach, and he is just commending the players on everything. He says they're being really strict with following the protocol. They have such dedication, and they're building this camaraderie. And he also goes on to say that the coaches are now talking to each other, because they're trying to figure out a way to, keep the kids motivated and make sure that they don't feel like they're sacrificing too much, because they're all so committed to the game. So literally both coaches are really commending these young players for doing everything they need to do to make sure this March Madness happens, and they acknowledge their sacrifice. So it was really kind of dope. And then, Scott said this comment about the girlfriends. I really liked the video. So if you guys want to go to the March Madness Instagram page and check that out, I thought it was really wholesome and it was really uplifting. But then here comes Geo Baker. Baker, he is at Rutgers. He's a senior. He was not having any of it. And he used this time to comment on the post. He said, and we're still amateurs. And then he did that with the laughing emoji and the face palm. He goes, that's nothing compared to what we bring to our schools. Not even saying schools should pay players, which already happens anyway, but others can create their own business and make money off it. Why would an athlete not be allowed to do that? I have to sign paper that says my name and likeness belong to the school. It's a modern day slavery. So we've talked about this several times on this show. So I think you guys know where we all stand. And we know that last year, the NCAA did support a rule change to allow athletes to get paid off their likeness, but there is a stipulation. They can get paid like off who they are, but they can't do it in any kind of school jerseys, no schools insignias, nothing. Not a big deal if you're a huge player at a big school and everybody knows your name. But if you're at a smaller school in a small community that kind of identify, you need to be able to connect yourself to that school, because that's why they know you. Even big athletes, especially in the NFL, if it wasn't for the fact that they wear their jersey, sometimes you wouldn't know who they are because they're always behind the helmet. So that's how you got your star power. The school is your star power, and they're not allowing you to manipulate that. So I get it. I understand exactly what he's saying. I I don't personally dispute anything he's saying. I actually agree 100% with it, except for I wouldn't have used the term slavery because it's not modern day slavery, because slavery is still actually happening in the world around us. So I definitely would have used a different word, but I do think the NCAA uses the kids for their own benefit. I've always said that a portion of the proceeds that they get from the ticket sales and all that money they make off of these kids going out there and being superstars in their own right, a portion of that should go to the athletes. And if you don't want to pay them directly, then set up some sort of trust that they can get when they graduate, because a very, very small portion of them are actually going to make it to the league. So I think it's just one of those things where the NCAA could definitely do better. And he got a lot of backlash about this. People were just kind of clowning him about what he said. And so what I'm not going to do is miss this opportunity to tell him he was 100% right, with the exception of how he used that word. And I'm going to commend him for his clapback on this. He basically said, I said what I said. It's a long quote, but he says, I'm extremely grateful for Rutgers, blah, 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 blah. He says, but it's a great opportunity I have, but it doesn't mean that the system is perfect. That's what I was trying to get to the point of. I think the core of what I said is true. My name, image, and likeness is owned by someone else. That's how I view it. I'm disappointed in the words that I use, but I think there's a bigger discussion that needs to be made. The headline was 3 words, but that was the very end and very truthful facts. We are owned by someone else. You see people with academic scholarships, they don't have the problem we have. We work extremely hard for our scholarships. I've been working out for 3 hours a day since the 6th grade. That is crazy. I feel like everyone on our team earned our scholarship, but we've also earned our own names as well. And he goes on to say a few more things, but I 100% agree with what he said. And Gio, I just want to tell you, I'm very proud of you for not only taking this moment to state the obvious that we all know. I'm proud of you for sticking to your guns. I know there was somebody somewhere that said, hey, you need to apologize for this, say you didn't mean it, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, I said what I said. Absolutely love you for that. Well done. Britt, I'm sure you have a comment on this. I know we're running short on time, so let's keep it quick. But do you have a thought on this?
I think it's dope. Obviously, you guys know my issue with the NCAA. I talk about it all the time. Thank you to our governor here in California, Gavin Newsom, who actually signed a bill that will, in the future, allow these players to get paid for their name. Because like Gio said, he's like, I'm working not only to get a scholarship, but for my name too. This is my name. I should, have the rights to that. That he kind of just added in there, and that's very true. So I think it's it's dope to say what you feel. Also though, you're a senior. Your basketball season is probably over. Career is going to be over very soon for college basketball. So it is easier for a guy like that to say it. Compared to like a freshman or a sophomore guy or a guy that definitely is not a one and done kind of guy. But I'm proud of just players in general kind of stepping up to the NCAA and kind of not taking any crap anymore. This is the time to do it because we are so, I guess hypersensitive to to things like this now. This has been going on for a long time, but everybody just kind of looked the other way. So now that we are open to receiving this from the players, I love to see moments when players do speak out, because this is stuff they've had in their back pocket for years, because this has been going on and this has been an issue, and players do feel like they're below the NCAA in a sense that they own me, and players have felt like that for a very long time. So I love anytime a player can, voice his opinion and how he feels about a situation, because the NCAA is nothing without the players, yet forever they make the players feel like the players are nothing without the NCAA. And we are obviously starting to see a change in that.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah. I just wish that they, especially like I said, a lot of players, you're just not going to know them if they don't have that school insignia. So I don't think it's fair for the school to be able to use their likeness at will, but then they can't use, the school that they're making all the money for. They can't use any jerseys or anything like that. So well done, Gio. I'm excited for March Madness. I know we all are. So let me get my girl Devyn up here real quick. Devyn, do you have any thoughts on this before we get into this next? We always catch you sometimes. Do you have any thoughts on this before we move?
I do really like what he said. I think that everything that he said was spot on, except for, of course, that modern day slavery comment that you mentioned. But yeah, I think we're all advocates over here of the NCAA paying their athletes. They should be able to make money off of their names and their jerseys and all of that. So I think that it was really cool that he stood up and said something.
Yeah, and I hope he inspires other people to stand up, because if enough of y'all stand up, then you'll get these wheels moving a little faster. Just saying. So now it's time for Brit's takes.
Brit's takes.
All right, it is Black History Month, you guys. We talked about it at the beginning of the week, and we said throughout the time we will be sharing some stuff with you guys. So I'm going to do that on Thursdays. At least this week. I don't know. I didn't talk to my producer about it, but this is what we're going to do today, because I am talking about some Black excellence. So I recently came across a post that said, Leo, if we want to throw that up, about Brehanna Daniels, or maybe we don't have it. Here we go. Brehanna Daniels, the first African-American woman to become a NASCAR pit crew member. First of all, hair is slayed, baby hair is popping. She is fine, got her lashes on. She is a girly girl. She actually was not originally into NASCAR. She, like most other Black people, we didn't grow up watching NASCAR. We never really cared about that kind of stuff. She said she never had any intentions of, doing NASCAR or being involved with NASCAR or whatever the case, or even cars in general. And when she was in college, she had went to lunch at Chick-fil-A actually, and she met somebody there that encouraged her to do the pit crew little thing that they were starting at the school. And so she's like, okay, because she could change a tire really fast and whatever. And so she joined that, and in 2017 actually became the first African-American female to be a part of a pit crew. It was interesting because when I had saw the article, I thought, oh my gosh, this is awesome. We just had Bubba Wallace stuff, and now this happened. And she got the job in 2017, and nobody made a peep about it. So again, like I was just talking about in Jackie's What We Not Gonna Do, like we're in an era now where we are realizing stuff is becoming news. This woman should have gotten her flowers and attention from this back in 2017 when she was hired. She did not. So obviously, with it being Black History Month, I want to make sure I acknowledge her and recognize her. NASCAR in general only has about a 36% female audience. We know what the NASCAR audience typically looks like. And then obviously we know what happened with the Bubba Wallace stuff earlier in the year, in 2020. I forget, we're in 2021 now. But seeing a woman is not only just rare in the pit crew, it's rare in general. So since NASCAR started, there have been over 3,000 NASCAR drivers who have raced at a cup level. And guess what? Only 16 of them have ever been women. The first one was back in 1946. And then it wasn't until 2013 that we even saw a white woman in the pit at all. Like usually the pit is a boys' club. There are very, very, very few. And so to have a Black woman join, especially because number one, Black people don't really watch NASCAR like that. And two, there in all of NASCAR have only been 16 female drivers, and then even less for pit crew members. I think this is so dope because she is fly, like this woman has like come into her own, made a name for herself in NASCAR. She actually changes a tire at around 11 or 12 seconds, which is amazing. She is awesome. And she never had any intentions of doing this and did not grow up, under the hood of a car, learning how to do things like this. This is something that kind of didn't come to her in college, and until she got into college, which is just like, imagine even how much crazier she would be if she had been doing this since, like that basketball player said, playing, or training 3 hours a day since he was in 6th grade. Like this just shows how dope Black people can be and things. Like she literally came into this very late in her life. We've talked several times about, different athletes who, didn't even start playing football till they were in high school or college or whatever. Someone told me to go out for the football team, and then I just happened to make it. There are so many like athletes, Black athletes especially, that are just so naturally talented that don't even like barely have to try. I was watching, obviously, my Clippers play, and even seeing Kawhi Leonard and how effortlessly he does things is amazing. So I definitely wanted to use this time to shout this girl out. I don't know why this is just making headlines. I know why, but yes, this is just making headlines now, and she has been employed and working since 2017 in a pit crew. NASCAR has a very long way to go as far as their diversity and different things like that. But to see her in there and be glammed up, popping how she does is amazing. She actually said of this about the moment, she said, "Whenever I think about giving up, I just keep going that much harder. I hope I can give motivation to others out there who look like me to step forward." So she definitely thinks that because she, didn't grow up with NASCAR and stuff, she feels like a lot of the community didn't, that she's a part of as well. But she's made a career for herself in this, and she's doing awesome and kicking butts while she's doing it. So congratulations to her. Long overdue. I think this is awesome. I can't wait to see not even just Black women, but women in general become part of NASCAR more, because we know how to drive. I know how to drive, okay? I don't like fast driving really, but I know how to drive. So ladies on the panel, do you guys have anything you want to say about Brehanna Daniels and why we're just actually kind of finding out about this, even though it happened years ago?
We actually on one of the podcasts when this came out in 2017, and that was the whole conversation we had. Was like, because we got a lot of comments like, who is this person, and it was one of those things where we were like, why are we the only, we're not a huge platform, we're not like an ESPN or a Fox Sports, and it's like, why is this not a thing? And then that was kind of the topic that we had, because we just don't, as Black people, it's not, we're just not finna go to a place where there's a whole bunch of Confederate flags flying around. That's just not where we going. So, and that's kind of what NASCAR is. So it kind of made sense that we didn't hear about it. And one of the things that we had talked about at that time was we had hoped that she didn't experience a lot of, discrimination and racism and, vulgar and racist comments towards her. And we actually tried to get an interview with her. And I think that fell through for some reason, because we wanted to ask her point blank, like, what is the racism you've experienced? Because you can't tell me on NASCAR that you haven't. And it could have been the line of questioning that she opted out. But I was very curious to hear about her experience. And then when Bubba Wallace came out, I'm not on that podcast anymore, but they talked about her again. They were like, oh, I wonder if she has anything to say, what her thoughts are. Maybe she'll come out and say now with her experience, but still haven't heard anything from her. She's just in there. And she probably doesn't get it that much, because I'm sure the pit crew is a tight crew, so they kind of keep to themselves or do whatever. So, but I would definitely want to hear her thoughts on that whole Bubba Wallace situation, if she ever wants to come out and hear her story as what she's had to experience as well.
Yeah, she actually also said in the interview that because she recently did an interview with Glamour magazine. I don't know why Glamour is covering it and ESPN and stuff is not covering this, but she recently did an interview with Glamour, and she said she doesn't remember recently they had somebody that was a Black woman that sung the national anthem, and she said, I don't remember in NASCAR history I've ever seen a Black person sing the national anthem. So she was like, we have a lot of work to do here, and having other girls see me is my work, is what I'm doing to be like, hey, no, you guys can come join me. I got your back. Like, we're going to do this together, and we're going to stick together. Because right now, obviously, not only is she in a league of her own as far as like being Black, but just like Bubba Wallace was, but she's even more away from it because she's one of very few women. There's only like 3 other women completely in NASCAR in general, So like, you're in like the smallest of the smallest bracket over here. So I think it's like dope that she's kind of, and I think it's important that we show who she is and show, because when they're in the pit crew, they have to wear helmets and they have to wear the jackets and the sleeves and the pants. And so you kind of don't even know what race people are as far as those people are concerned, because they're not the Bubba Wallaces where, you know, after the race is over, they get out and they take their helmet off and they're walking down, you know, the speedway and you can see their face. The pit crew you don't really see very often. So to make her face known, we could probably have some dope women, black women coming up here that'll just have a whole pit crew full of them.
Yeah,
Devyn?
that'd be really.
I mean, I think this is awesome, and I think you guys are right. We should have known about this and highlighted her way long ago. ESPN should be talking about her. It should be ESPN over Glamour. But I think that anytime a woman is able to break into any sort of industry that's traditionally known as a boys' club, that needs to be celebrated, and even more so when it's a woman of color. So I think that this is really exciting. I'm so glad that you brought her up for your Brits takes, because that's what's so cool about the Fumble. If ESPN's not covering it, we're going to cover it over here, and I just think that's really neat. So shout out to her, and hopefully this kind of inspires other young girls around the country to also get their start in NASCAR if they want to, if that's interesting to them. But you guys, we can wrap up the show now. Why don't we do that? We're going to be back again at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow, so make sure that you tune in, subscribe, tap the bell, leave a comment below, share this video with your friends, and we will wash your hands, wear a mask, and see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye.